Hey, everybody, this is Hannibal.
And this is Jupiter.
Hey, okay, y'all, we have a show for y'all tonight, and we got a special guest. The person that you see on there sliding around on the couch, that's our buddy Bliss. Hey, Bliss.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thank you for the
This is
invite.
just luxuriating there on the couch there. Look at you.
Just floating. You on cloud eight, almost on nine? Or what is it?
I'm on 60. Well, I'm on 9.
Okay, we'll take that.
The clean. All right, y'all. So today's show is going to be about toxic masculinity in our community and even in the het community. So Jupiter has come up with a couple of talking points tonight.
Right. So I want to start off by saying that toxic masculinity can be defined as socially destructive habits that encourage social codes such as misogyny, homophobia, physical and mental violence, and domination. Now, I know that's a mouthful.
And where do we get that definition from?
I just brought that together from sources that I got today. So when I was doing research for this show, so I'm not plugging anyone for this. Um, I'm making it my own.
Oh,
Oh,
well, look at
So
the Lord.
yeah.
look at her.
He delivered.
I was being greedy today when I was getting information. So there we go. But getting back to that, I feel that we see a lot of toxic masculinity when we are trying to meet other men. And one of the ways that a lot of us today, most of us, sometimes have the option of meeting other people through dating apps. And if we think about some of the dating apps, some of that toxic masculinity is kind of intertwined already in it. So when people have profiles that say masculine for masculine or no fats, no femmes, no Asians, uh, Maurice, you and I were talking one time and you were saying that you've seen it where people are saying no blacks, and the no blacks sometimes comes from other black men saying no blacks, or sometimes there's Latino men saying no blacks,
Or
uh,
Caucasian men saying no blacks.
or Caucasian men saying no blacks. And it just puts us in a place that we are completely less than.
Absolutely.
So Bliss, being our first guest, welcome again. Uh, how, in a
Hello.
way, have you felt like toxic masculinity has affected you?
It has affected me in hetero spaces. When I was 19 years old, I can remember that I was victim of a hate crime. It wasn't ever reported, but I went to a straight club and I was beat up. Um, pretty, I'm gonna say
Wow.
pretty badly, but I was more mentally abused than physical, you know, which I'm not sure if that was, a good thing or not because it still plays out into the day. When I'm around a lot of heterosexual individuals, men specifically, I get nervous because I feel as though that they think that I am trying to do something or trying to court them, which is not, it's far from the truth. So it only happens when I'm around someone that is really, 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 really ultra masculine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so would you say that even today you don't feel comfortable going into fully het spaces? And so for everyone out there, het is how the gay community refers to the heterosexual community, non-binary, binary people in the heterosexual community. Hmm?
Um,
I know there was a lot of definitions there.
No, we're taking you
so
through
I've
it.
never heard of a hat before. This is my first time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's popular where Jupiter and I it's very popular.
Mm.
We just throw it out all day long. We're good with it. But the thing I think I take from your story is that there was a trauma that did not actually get worked through.
Mhm.
And
Mm-mm.
so, is it a thing where you find if you're in a hetero type of situation, do you feel safer if there are women there?
No, I don't feel safe around men or females.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay,
It
gotcha.
does not matter. And, you know, with us talking about toxic masculinity, I associate that with fear, with abuse, um, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of that. I do think that masculinity is relative. It depends on the person, right? It depends on the person how they see someone as being masculine. Um, we're focused on homo. Well, my thing is in the het world, there are individuals who are metrosexuals who people think that they're gay, but they're not, right? And then you have those really ultra masculine guys who shame them as well, which is
So
unfair.
I'm glad you brought that point up about very feminine, masculine men, because there's a guy who I follow on a popular app that makes the noise of a clock. Anyway, I don't want to say their name because I don't want them suing me. Okay, take my kitty cat away. Anyway, um,
You
anyway,
don't want
I
that.
follow this. I follow this guy on there because he is extremely, extremely effeminate, and he carries a purse, and he is like nails, hair, makeup, boom, boom, boom. He's heterosexual. He's very heterosexual. He has a girlfriend. He's very heterosexual, but he enjoys giving off a very effeminate energy. And so I know sometimes in the gay world, when you're a gay guy, especially like my stature, you know, I I think I pass off very often for being heterosexual until I open my mouth and start reading the kids. They don't really know. They don't know what it is. Anyway, I what I find is that a lot of straight women, if I'm around them, their boyfriends feel very, very like uneasy around me. And I don't know if that's because they think I want them or they think I might be into their girlfriend or whatever. And me and the girlfriend might just be kiki. We might be a good old kiki partner and roll a cigar or something and smoke a cigar. But sometimes the straight men feel so offended by it and their masculinity comes over. It's like they're overpowering. You know what I mean? Like it's like now I gotta be extra man so that you know
It's
that
like
I'm masculine. I don't get
overcompensating.
down with that gay
Right.
stuff and all that. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad you said you don't get down with that gay stuff. Can you please swipe your credit card for this $200 meal we just had?
Thank you so much. Right, right, right.
You know, but I just feel like we've got to do better by correcting it in the LGBTQ community. We should not be having this type of toxic behavior amongst ourselves in the community. You can't be. There's a generation coming behind us that need us to teach them and lead them in a non-sexual, teach them in a non-sexual way. When this younger generation needs help, we've got to step up and help them and teach them that it doesn't matter if you're effeminate. It doesn't matter if you're super masculine. I mean, you could be Arnold Schwarzenegger, man, whatever he is. And then you could also be, I don't know, the most effeminate guy out there, but you're still exactly who you want to be. If you identify as a man, then that's who you are. I don't care if you have on tutu or not. That's who you are. And so we have to teach people to accept themselves who they are as who they are and to feel comfortable with themselves in all spaces.
Well, also we have to teach the guys who sign up for that toxic masculinity that it's okay to be who they are if that's not their storyline. You know,
So,
because I think that a lot of times you'll have people who in the street they behave one way, but when they get behind closed doors, it's a different situation. And I think that that judgmental mentality becomes a lot. So you'll get guys that'll go, "Oh, I'm attracted to you," and so outside we just assume masculine is he's a top, or he's a masculine bottom, which I don't know the difference of not so masculine. I don't know why it changes things. But if we then take you home and then you're the first one to throw your legs to the moon, but I can't tell nobody, my thought process is, why is this a problem for you? Like, it's okay if you want to be on the receiving end of a sexual relationship with another man. Why do you feel like, oh, I have to act a certain way and you can't tell anybody? I feel like that's another part of toxic masculinity where we're saying no.
So y'all
So
Don't
excuse
be
me
that
for
way.
standing over here, but I'm from Alabama, and one something we don't do, babe, we don't turn the air conditioner on in December. It's
Well, I
against
can
our
tell you, we get in this warm weather because Senator Warnock was reelected. And so that's why it was 78 degrees in Atlanta today. And so I will thank him for that. I know the Republicans blamed him for inflation and climate change and everything else. And so I
exactly.
can say,
right.
I do believe he brought this on. So thank you.
They
It's 78
blamed him for
degrees in
Paul
Atlanta.
Wheeler not getting released. Child, he didn't even know the good was coming out.
He didn't know.
So
You know,
have
But
y'all
back on topic. Go ahead, Bliss.
so have y'all heard, I'm sure that you guys have, but so it's more so rhetorical. I think that this all started back in slavery when um, butt breaking. I'm not sure of the actual terminology of it, but I think that all this stemmed from that, because guys back then were powerless in doing anything when individuals were raped. And so now it's like you have to be this ultra masculine guy in order for people to see you uh, as as a man, right? So I guess my thing is like you were saying previously, Maurice. So how does a person rise above that when I feel like there's a generational curse on Black men,
so
whether they're hetero and or homo?
I'll tell you this. Having visited Goree Island, which is in off the coast of Senegal, is one of the last places that enslaved people were held captive prior to getting on the boat to come across the United States. Um, it is a place that I believe every person of color should visit because there's so much history there. And I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. But in there, I got to see a holding cell that was probably about the size of a large powder room in someone's house. And in that holding cell, they would house about 50 to 60 men. And across from the men were their young daughters, right? And so the slave masters, the way the story was told to us, allegedly, the slave masters would come in so that those men could view them rape their young daughters. And they would do this to demasculate the men, let them know that they were no longer inferior or powerful or whatever. Fast forward to getting to America and the enslaved people actually being on plantations. Again, the slave master would come in and take the woman he wanted, whether she was married or not, and rape her, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
in front of her husband or family, to once again demasculate the man. Because if you jump in and tell me, no, you can't do this, I'm going to kill you. And then I'll get her as often as I want her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at how we as Black men have to be extra masculine, right? We got to be extra strong, right? And I know what you meant by the butt breaking, where there were men who were being raped by their slave masters to calm them down, so to speak. You know, we as Black gay men who are here today, we have to overcome that, and it's hard. That's 400 years of of trauma that
Oppression. Yeah.
carried from generation to generation. And now we get to the point to where we are here in the 21st, I guess the 22nd century, 21st, I don't know, one of them. Anyway, we're here in the 21st century and we are still trying to prove ourselves as being extra masculine. And, no matter what, even when you say you walk in, I don't know, a mall, you know, am I going to go in the mall flaming down the aisle? You can see the smoke trail behind me. Or am I going to go in the mall cool, calm, collected? Generally, I don't flame. That's not me. What you see is what you pretty much get, you know. Um, but there are people who do. And we'll have other Black men will pick at them or, you know, make them feel like they're less of a man and they're not. You're just as much of a man as that next person. But the men who are picking don't understand that they are carrying on the trait that enslaved people were forced to carry. Those enslaved men, once they had been raped by their slave masters, had to return to their families. They had to return to their families and try to still be the head of the household. How embarrassing. Or after their spouse had been raped, or young daughter had been raped, you can't do anything. They had to return to their families. So that toxic masculinity is built up from 400 years of trauma. 400 years of trauma. And we have to try our best to break it. We have to try our best to mentor this younger generation to understand that you can be who you are. Baby, if you want to go to school with green hair, a halter top, cargo pants, and some Louis Vuitton shoes, baby, I want you to walk. I want you to walk, and no one shall bother you because you're not bothering them. You're expressing yourself. And I think in the South, I'll wrap this up. I know I'm talking too much. I think in the South, where I am now, when people see a young person, and they're coming out so much in this area I live in now, but when they see a young person who is very open and maybe very feminine, or like the other day, I saw two young men walking in the Walmart holding hands. And my cousin, I was like, go ahead. All right, baby, you got it now, baby. Look at you. Because in my mind, it's like, that's a path that we laid 20 years ago, right? And now look at you. You and your boo can walk in the Walmart in the middle of the Bible Belt and you are not afraid. Ain't nobody bust you upside the head. They been not while I was there. Ain't nobody bust you upside your head or nothing. And you walked in your authority. And I loved it. I loved it. So that's all I got on
But do you
toxic
feel
masculinity.
like when people talk about, like you're saying, walking in your authority, I think sometimes these guys that exhibit that toxic masculinity behavior walk in the authority that I think a lot of times we give them. When somebody's
Exactly.
very masculine, we're like, oh, that's daddy, that's zaddy, that's he a man. And then you're like, hey sis, so we get into these places where we congratulate toxic masculinity, and then somehow if it causes trauma to us in the gay community, it's wrong.
It's like a
I
double
can tell
standard.
you, yeah, it is a very double standard. Like, somebody will go, oh, I don't want that little queen climbing on my back.
Right.
That's offensive to say.
And
Like,
then
that's
let
a
me tell
very
you,
toxic thing
I,
to say.
I saw something just the other day. Like I said, y'all, I ain't turning on no air conditioner here. It's December. Midway through December, we're 2 weeks from Christmas. I ain't turning on no air conditioner. I might sweat to death though. Anyway, um, what was I about to say? Oh, anyway, with these people who are in these daddy boy relationships and stuff like that, and I'll explain to the audience what daddy boy relationships is. That is a type of relationship in a BDSM or S&M type of arrangement. Okay, so in these relationships, it's like you don't want this one climbing on your back. You don't want to climb on this back. All this, oh, this was too feminine. This is too masculine. Blah 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 blah. And you miss out on a wonderful relationship. You know. So what if Kendrick is 5 feet 2? And effeminate. Kendrick may be the best thing for you.
He can't
Kendrick
be,
may.
because if I have the mindset of you got to be this tall to ride this ride, then Kendrick can't ride this ride.
Well, Kendra might have a step stool.
But here's
Or
my
you can
thing,
buy
like
him one from
also.
Amazon.
So I think that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there are individuals who are the typical masculine men. And I think that sometimes people associate toxicity with someone who is just regularly just quote unquote masculine, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like they get oftentimes bad rap for those individuals who are toxic, toxic. I'm sorry, I can't even pronounce the word. But it's like, it's just, and that's why, individuals should get to know someone just as a person or individual versus, judging them based on their mannerisms. Like you were
I'm telling
saying,
you. Go ahead.
like you were saying earlier, uh, give someone a chance. You never know what you may learn from the individual. You might not be something that you're wanting to pursue, but it can be great friendships that can be forged.
Right. And let me
It's
tell you,
true.
like,
Mhm.
with me, the moment a person asks me, "Are you masked or film?" We're done. Conversation's over. Conversation's over because you have just told me that you're actually not interested in knowing me. You're interested in who I present to the world. It doesn't matter who I present to the world. It doesn't matter because if you're interested in me, then you should be interested in me. And it took me a long time to get to that point. It took me a long time to build my self-esteem up and everything like that. And to be who I am and walk in that authority of who I am. And that's what I want this younger generation to understand. You got to walk in your authority. You know,
Mhm.
being a
Because
person
it's a
who,
very, if you think about it, that's a very fear-based question to ask somebody.
mhm,
Because you're afraid, like, I'm not a big mall walker, but I can't walk in the mall with you. I can't go with you to the Kroger, like y'all said. I don't know why you put a "the" on everything. I can't go with you to the Walmart and figure out, how to go food. It's a very fear-based thing. I think that not I think. I know that from my upbringing, growing up in New York and coming out at such a young age, I was exposed to a lot of things that I was like a sponge and wanting to just grow up. I didn't want to have that look like, oh, he's such a child. Or so it was never like a clutching of pearls for anything. It was more of like, oh, well, what are you doing? I want to do that. And I can say that for me, I had experiences with transgender people who were either male to female or female to male, in which I didn't allow this title to tell somebody what we did or who we were. So I was okay with saying, yes, this is a transgender woman and she is, climbing my back. That's not a problem because that's the situation we got into, and vice versa. And so I think that when we're talking about how somebody is asking you to, the first question is, how masculine are you? I guess we don't always think about our masculinity if we're comfortable in ourselves. Like I don't think about my masculinity. Like I'm just me. I'm Jupiter. I'm a dad. I own a business. Like I ain't thinking about my masculinity. Like I'm thinking
and,
about my life and
that's
Right.
those
how I
simple
am.
things.
Like here in the Bible Belt, the deep Bible Belt that I am in, people want you to be, woof. First off, being ordained in ministry, like I said, I don't work in ministry now. I'm in the Bible Belt, and churches just don't accept it here, which is fine because that can be exhausting. But they want you to look a certain look here. You know, you
Mm.
can't be gay and be in ministry. You can't be this and be in ministry because you're going to look this way to the congregation. You're going to look that way. And this is what the hetero people do. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to look this way. You're going to look that way. Our church is going to be talked about. Folks going to talk about it. You know,
Mm,
for me, I feel that being here in the South, like, my masculinity should never overpower who I am as a person. My femininity should never overpower who I am as a person, because at the core of who I am, I'm a person. I'm a person, I'm a man. So none of this masculinity or femininity really even should ever matter. It should never come into context. Now, you're going to like what you like. You're going to like what you like, but you should never offend anyone by, I've had people, no, like you're a little too feminine for me. Oh, bye. Oh, I want you to go. I want you to knock rocks with open toe shoes. Oh no, I was looking for somebody fair, you too, master.
Right.
You
Because
know,
what I'm not going to do is change for
right.
nobody.
At this age, I mean, all of us are over 40, except for me, which is 27. You all are over 40 and I'm 27.
A
So
whole lot. And that's why you repeated it the second time and the third time.
yes, at the
She's trying to
tenderoni
remember
age,
the lie. We're trying to
Right.
remember the lie.
at
So
the
if we
tenderoni
keep
age of
saying it over and over
27.
and over, it's
Right.
not a
Keep that
lie.
same
I get
energy.
it.
At the
Okay.
tenderoni age of 27, another issue that I noticed in the community was fat shaming, and or I guess that's called fat toxicity, but fat shaming. People don't want you to be fat, in this community. When people think of Black gay men, they think of some masculine butch guy, with muscles and like 185, 6'2", 185, six-pack washboard, goes to the gym every day, you know, pumping iron and all that. That's what they think. Well, I pump iron every day too. I lift that cast iron skillet out the cabinet onto the stove. I fry
You,
me up old piece of chicken. I fry me up
you
old
take
piece
those
of
iron
fish.
pills.
And I'll be like lifting it too. I'll be like, ooh, ooh, boy, look at that. I be lifting it. But that's what I'm talking about. They have that image of you, and I'm not that person. I'm just me. I am me.
And
And I am
sometimes
that
that all that
because you're
stuff can
greater
be
than
drag. I get
me.
all of that, but I feel like some of that stuff can be drag as well. Because just because you go to the gym doesn't make you more masculine. Like that's just not the case. I
It
mean,
just makes you
for
have
me,
sometimes a better body.
right, just because you have a better body doesn't make you more masculine. Just because somebody is well endowed doesn't make them more masculine. Like, these things really don't work. It's just a perception that you're selling somebody. That whole straight acting thing. Like you're acting like something, but you're not getting paid for this act. So I don't
Right.
really know why you're putting this role on. It just doesn't work. And you think about why people say they do things. Okay, yes, so people work out to attract the same sex, or they work out to attract the opposite sex. Or some people are saying, oh, I work out so that makes me more masculine. I remember when there was a time when I was growing up in New York and I found out my own status that guys were working out more so that people didn't think that you were sick.
Hmm.
So you didn't want people to think that you had AIDS or you had HIV. So you worked out more so your body looked good so you would be perceived as healthy.
I never knew that.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really big thing. And so here I am now. I found out my status when I was 21 and now I'm 45. And I like to eat. But that doesn't mean but the reality is just because I work out didn't mean that I wasn't positive. I still am. It just
Hmm.
means that I was working out because at that time, this was something to deter people from thinking, oh, she's sick. Oh, he got the monster. Oh, you got to be careful of him. So it just seems like there's so many ways where toxic masculinity can creep in to different parts of our community,
Hmm.
you know, because you're heavy set, oh, she lazy. And somebody's too skinny, he needs to eat. Which was you gonna do? My nana did the same thing. You come back to her house skinny, oh, you need to eat, baby. Food is love. So it's like, which one is it? Like, am I getting a lot of love or am I getting no love because
Let me tell you,
I'm not doing
when I went away to the military and came back home that first time, my mother saw how thin I was. She was like, I tell you, it wasn't 2 hours. It was like 19 items on the stove. She was like, eat. You need.
it? And how much weight were you supposed to gain on that weekend?
So
Like, really?
when I joined the military, I was 6'2", 162 pounds.
Ooh.
I was
Any.
thin. I was like, whoop. When I joined the military, now I've always been a plump person. I've always been big. So me going down, look, it's just not gonna happen. At this point in my life, if I could get to 250, that's where I want to be, right there. That's my sweet spot. But I've always been heavy, and guys will be like, "Oh, well, you cute for a big guy."
You know what? That's something I
For a
hate.
guy who's been beaten with a baseball bat.
What do you
I
mean,
hate.
Bliss? Why do you
I
why do you
hate.
why do you hate that?
I hate when people be like, "Hey, what's going on, big guy?" Like, guy. Hey, you can say guy, but big guy. Like, I just feel like that is so derogatory. Maybe
Hmm.
that is my own internal insecurities when he is saying big.
Hmm.
Because
But
I've
in a sense,
always
let me ask you a question, Bliss. Why did you feel like that was an insecurity when somebody technically is giving you an insult? Because
because it's
that
my
sounds like, because to me, that sounds like all big guys are not cute, or all big guys are ugly. But you broke the mold. You actually you turned out to be cute and big. How you
Right.
do that? You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what?
It's like
Straight
that's what
people
they
do.
saying.
Straight people be like, "Oh, you dress nice for a big guy."
Right.
or
So
how
if
about
I
this?
was
You
skinny and
smell
had this
So it's
on,
nice.
like, how you do that?
if I
What you
was
said
skinny and
again?
had this on, I would be ugly. Is that what you're saying?
Or right here, are you clean to be a big guy? You don't smell. You got all your teeth, including your side teeth.
No, people have some crazy stuff they like to say to you. All of them. Everyone that the Lord gave me except for two wisdom teachers didn't know.
So let me ask you a question. Did they think, Bliss, that you eat so much so you ate your side teeth too? Like, what? I mean, I've never heard that before, but I can say that for me on the other side, that nobody wants to hear this, but here's my little Karen moment. I've had guys that I've been attracted to. They were like, "Oh, you too small for me," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I can't do much about it, but I've had that. You got to be as tall to ride this ride type of mentality, and it's kind of jarring because it's like, well, goddamn, like I can't be tall. Like my mother's like 5'2", my
Okay.
father's 6 feet tall, and I'm this size. So like I don't have no choice.
So
And if
Jupiter,
I wear
I
heels, they're not gonna talk to me no more. So I
right.
know how to
So
make
Jupiter,
myself taller.
here's the thing also, Jupiter. So something that I can't change is me presenting like the all American masculine guy, right? Typical. But however, mannerisms are completely the opposite, you know? And when people have a conversation with me or when they meet me, they're completely turned off because they see that I give masculinity just by physical appearance, but when I talk, then they're like, I'm not sure about that. And I oftentimes am called catfish, which is not true. I'm being my authentic self, but don't put me in a category because I'm not going to ever fit those.
So you're
Right.
saying that people may think that you look a certain way, but then when they talk to you, you switched it up?
I didn't switch anything up. I was being me.
No, I'm saying they're thinking. That's what I'm saying. When you said they call you a catfish, is that their perception is you looked a certain way, but now I hear you talking your mannerisms. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So let me ask y'all this. Do y'all feel that back when we were on the local chat line that it was easier? When you had to do that, don't act like me at the tender age of 27 is the only one who was on the chat line. We hit the dial.
You know what? I can tell you this, that yes, I had my chat line phase, but I can tell you that for me, I think my I can't say perfect, but I'm going to say perfect. my perfect time was when I was like leaving high school and going into college. I remember going to bars and they had this little business cards and you can little pencils and you can write somebody's phone number down and stuff like that. That was a good time that I remember being in New York because we were always socializing. You know, we went to brunch, we walked around the city, we did things together. And for me, yes, the phone lines were fun and they were cute and stuff like that. But I always liked that, connection or interpersonal connection with you and me, and we're talking, we're laughing. And then I invite my friend over, hey, this is my friend Bliss. And he talks to your friend, and then we buy each other around the drinks and all stuff. So I like that. Like when I think of the nostalgia of my youth and coming out and being gay and stuff like that, being in the clubs way too young. Either way, I remember that time, and that's a time that strikes a chord in me where it's just that nostalgia hits me, and you know,
You
I
don't get
like
that now.
that.
You talking about those tea parties. You don't get that now. What you get is a social media, a hit on Jagged on Instagram, be like, hey, I seen you out. Okay, so why didn't you speak? I think that a lot of social media, yes, it is social, but it makes us less social.
Yes.
I think that it it hinders us in our communication. I even think that it even prevents us professionally from reaching our peak. It's because we don't know how to really socialize with one another.
And I know you all are older than me, and
You
you
know
all are like the last.
what?
Where's the lie?
Keep going. Keep going.
Where's Anyway, you all are older than me, and so you're like the last generation before.
Ooh wee.
Y'all are like the
Serenity
phone.
now. Serenity now. Serenity now.
Y'all are like the phone book generation, and I'm like the new, you
The
know,
rotary. The
smartphone
rotary.
devices.
The rotary. The rotary.
I know when you all were calling people, you had to talk to Thelma in the phone so she'd connect your lines for you. And so I want to
Oh.
know, how was that experience for you?
Are you saying for us, we had party lines where basically everybody had? Okay, okay. Well, to me, I think about it like this: if we didn't pave the way, you would be here now. So, thank you is in order.
Thank you
I'm
for the
waiting.
street. Thank you for the
Thank you.
street light.
No, it should be thank you for the struggle, not thank you for the street light.
Thank you
Uh,
for the struggle. Because I am 20 and
And what year were you born, love?
oh, darling, I was born many years ago, honey. Many,
But what
many,
year? But what year? But what
many.
year
he's
though?
gonna, he's gonna say 27 years ago.
I know, but what year? I know
1995.
27, 19 what? Mm.
Mm,
That was kind of hard for you to come up with, wasn't it?
no, it
So
wasn't.
let's just get back on topic to
Mm.
wind this up, fellas. Um, in a quick little anecdote or statement, where are you now that we understand that toxic masculinity is around us, either through heterosexual men or gay men, but where are you right now in finding ways, or what is your way of combating it that it does not enter your space?
Not giving a damn and being my authentic self and not adjusting to nobody, but allowing them to adjust to me and leading by example. Period.
So for me, I address it. When it happens to me, I address it. If someone is attempting to force their toxicity on me, I address it. Like, I'm sorry. But no, we can either throw hands or you can calm down, one or the other. But what you won't do is make me feel like less of a man because you don't feel like enough man.
Mm.
And that's what it is. You know, um, so many times we are made to feel like less. so many times we're made to feel like that's because so many people are walking around with multiple traumas that they're dealing with. And the only way they know how to cope with those traumas is by hurting someone else. I can't be your punching bag. I can assist you to get on your journey, but I cannot be your punching bag. That's all.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm finding that dealing with toxic masculinity has become a teaching moment for me as a parent. You know, raising a teenager who I hear him say things and I have to check him and go, oh, no, 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 no. That's not cool. That's not what we about. Made me, look at myself and how I view certain things and realize that, sometimes the lens that I'm looking through isn't always the right lens. And sometimes I have to look through another person's lens and understand, okay, check you too. But you know me, I like checking other people first. So I do the best I can. I'm not
Um,
27 anymore. So what can I say?
I know. I
27
don't
must
know
be the
what it's
magic
like.
number tonight.
Hmm.
27 must be the magic number tonight, isn't it?
I don't know what it's like to be older. I mean, you guys are way up.
Well, we want
It's
to
the blink.
thank Bliss for joining us this evening in this fun little conversation that we had, where we were able to be raw and not have to edit ourselves. And thank you for sharing with us, Bliss. Hannibal, thank you for doing all your behind the scenes work with being our little engineer here. And for everybody who's watching, I want you guys don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can get updates about future videos and content. Also, drop a comment in the comment bar below about any topic that you would like to hear us cover on this show.
Right. And maybe you want to join us on a show. Maybe you have something that you would like to say. Drop that in the comment. Now, we ain't saying everybody gonna come on here. This ain't the king. You can't have it your way. But if you put your little thing down there, we might call you and ask you what's on your mind or something like that. So just just talk to us. We're here for you. And as soon as we hit our magic number, we can do this show live, which is going to be way more interactive than us pre-recording and having to post it. Final thoughts, Bliss?
Just live and be your authentic self. And thank you so much for allowing me to be on you guys' platform. And hopefully, you guys will invite me back because I really enjoyed myself.
Thank
You
you.
were a
And
wonderful guest. Thank you.
this is Hannibal signing off.
And this is Jupiter saying, I'm leaving too. Good night,
And this
y'all.
is
Good night,
Bliss
y'all.
signing out. Adios. Bye.